Today, we're taking on 3 essential jobs in the polytunnel to keep things growing strong all winter long. Let's take a look and see what we need to do. In this weekend's video entry, I'm tackling another 3 jobs to get this place ready for the colder months and ensure we have fresh food growing throughout the winter. First up, I'm making some protection for my young seedlings. Mice and other critters love a tasty seedling snack. Not on my watch. I'm showing you my simple system for protecting those vulnerable winter seedlings. This is basically a raised mini fortress using long seed trays or even planks of wood. Building wise, I tend to make things up as I go along, so you'll probably find a better or smarter way to do it. There's no magic formula to how I build it, and I tend to reuse whatever I've got lying around. So, here we go, mistakes and all. First things first, as a tray will be hanged from one of the tunnel's steel tubes, I need to measure some rope which will hold it in place. This rope is actually what remains of a washing line I put up in the summer. No waste here. It's quite simple, I just feed the rope over the top, remembering to form a loop for stability, and run down so the tray will be at a workable height. I then add a couple of inches in case of mistakes and cut. Then add a knot in one end of the rope. I'll do this again for the other end of the tray, and then we'll start putting it together. Now the original idea was to thread the knotted rope end through a washer to create a stopper. The first mistake was using washers where the hole was too big for the knot. I then doubled the size of the knot. That still wasn't big enough. Starting to get a bit annoyed and wanting to get the job done, I then grabbed some metal fence staples to act like a stopper. Then I decided that was stupid. I ended up grabbing some wooden batten and sawed it into 4 squares. Drilled holes through, and after tidying up the frayed end of the length of rope I had just measured and cut, guided the rope through and pulled tight on the knot. Perfect. The next thing I had to do was drill 4 holes into the tray I was to hang. Simple job, 1 hole in each corner. I threaded the rope through the holes until the wooden blocks acted as stoppers. Tested for strength, and all being good, decided it was time to hang. Going back to the spot I was going to use, I put one end of the rope over the steel, and remembering to loop, pulled the other end like a pulley, lifting the tray up to the height I wanted it. It was a little fiddly, but I then threaded the other end of the rope through the other hole I had drilled into the tray, through one of the wooden blocks and added a knot. That was the first side in place. I then did exactly the same on the other side, making sure it was as level as I could get it. and after a bit more fiddling, tested it out by adding some weight. A tray of broad beans, which are actually one of next week's gardening jobs. Nice and stable, that's that job done. Next job, it's time to fire up my homemade hotbed. I built this last year and it's been essential for giving my seedlings a warm start, protecting tender plants from frost and even growing salad greens all winter. This year I've upgraded the cover using some leftover tunnel film that I had left over from building the Polytunnel. It's a nice and easy construction, mainly using stuff I've recycled or found cheap. The actual base is an old shed door, as you can see from the fact the lock is still on it. This hotbed is basically a layered cake of warmth for my plants. At the bottom, on top of the door, there's a thick layer of insulation to keep all that precious heat from escaping. On top of that is another sheet of that polytunnel cover plastic. This is important because we need to keep the following ingredient from soaking the insulation. Next comes the sand, and lots of it. A couple of inches deep, all over. This acts as a giant heat reservoir, absorbing and distributing the warmth from below. But we need to keep the sand wet to conduct the heat properly, thus the plastic sheet protecting the insulation. On top of the sand is the heat coil. It's like the engine of this whole operation, providing a constant source of gentle warmth. I've snaked the coil up and down the entire bed at a gap of around 2 inches. And on top of that, another couple of inches of sand, topped with some of this horrid leftover ground cover. It's disgusting stuff that frays if you use it in the garden, but I didn't want to throw it out, so made use of it this way instead. Seriously though, I used some of this stuff about 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm still picking it out of parts of the garden to try and stay clear of it. And finally, with the cover on top, it's like a mini polytunnel inside the big one. It's now ready to keep my young and tender seedlings protected throughout winter. Here we are on the next day. The mini tunnel temperature has risen substantially, so test positive. I'll have to have a fiddle and adjust to ideal temp for the seedlings. I have a couple of options for trays. First, there's some of these old plastic supermarket salad trays with holes melted into the bottom. Then there's these lined mushroom trays. It's a use for all those old Amazon boxes we keep piling up. Medium-wise, this is just some shop-bought compost sieved and some ultra-fine perlite added for air. I'll add a couple of handfuls to the tray. And level off. It doesn't need to be more than a centimetre or so deep, as the roots don't need it. Seed-wise, I'm using a mesclun mix. You get loads of seeds in a packet, and even on Amazon they're quite cheap. You can sow quite generously and get a good coverage. Whatever remains goes back in the packet for next time. top it off with another centimetre or so of compost. And level. Then give it a gentle water. Finally, I'll pop it into the mini tunnel that's now ready to quickly grow these leaves. You don't need all this set up to achieve weekly salad. It's really just the first one that takes its time. And then as you regularly sow, you get regular crops. All this tunnel is doing is providing heat consistency. One day I'll show you how I made a grow light system from an old chest of drawers. But that's another story for another day. So, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment if you like, and I'll see you in the next one.